universe, media, network, 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 network.
This is Real Estate Investing Success Minneapolis, the show that takes you on a conversational journey through the ins and outs and the ups and downs of the Twin City area real estate investing industry to help you reach your goals of financial freedom through real estate investing. I'm Antonio Holman, author, investor, and founder of United States Real Estate Investor, a real estate investing focused media company, and my mission is to help you learn and achieve financial freedom through media, networking, and knowledge. Today, we're talking to Mike Jacka. From excited to hopeful to now a confident real estate investor, owner, and president of the Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association. Stick around with me on this journey to hear why Mike is a real estate investing success. Real Estate Investing Success Minneapolis is sponsored by MnREIA. Twin City Real Estate Investors, MnREIA is here for your success. Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association, the largest REIA in the upper Midwest, and voted the #1 REIA in Minnesota by the top association leaders and national speakers in the country, is here to increase your knowledge, skills, connections, and ultimately your freedom. MnREIA is a community of real estate investors who strive to provide the most current, relevant, and fresh training from top leaders in the real estate investing industry. Want membership perks? As a MnREIA member, you receive valuable members-only benefits from organizations such as Home Depot, Rent Perfect, Arcana Insurance Services, Equity Trust Company, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Avis Car Rental, Budget Car Rental, Office Depot, QuickBooks, CallFire, Constant Contact, and many more. Whether you're a seasoned pro or someone who's just getting started, MnREIA's focused community and multiple monthly events are value-packed occasions for anyone looking for real estate investing success. To join the community today, visit MnREIA at MnREIA.com. That's MnREIA.com. Again, that's MnREIA.com. Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association, your place for real estate investing industry training, networking, resources, and much more. All right, Mike, are you ready to talk some real estate investing with me today?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Excellent. So before we get into the business side of things, how about you tell us a little bit about your personal life?
Sure. I've started real estate pretty much right out of school, which was 30 plus years ago, and graduated from high school in 98, went to trade school, graduated from that in 1991, and then in 1992, I got my real estate license. I got interested in real estate real early on, but not directly because of real estate. I got interested in cash flow, understanding cash flow, following cash flow, and that led me to real estate. So I guess I've always been an entrepreneur. So my background has been varied. I've done a little bit of everything from as a real estate investor, I've been a real estate broker, a property manager. I've done trustee servicing for land trusts and that kind of stuff. I've also, in my early days, I was a handyman, a contractor license. I even, for many years, delivered pizzas so I could help pay the bills while I was doing my rehabs. So, I mean, I've done a little bit of everything. I even worked on cars for many years in the beginning. Anything I could do to earn a little bit extra income to survive and buy materials and stuff to work on rehabs. So I was just always doing that for pretty much my whole life. And now I run one of the largest real estate investor associations in the country. I run MnREIA. And I also have a national base with where we're connected with about 70 different REIAs around the country, and we do training for their members as well.
Wow, awesome. You got a lot going on, man. It all sounds good. That's good.
Yeah, too much sometimes.
Yeah, well, I feel you.
Yeah.
So as far as the one word or phrase that really got you into this, what was that one word or phrase that really sparked everything for you to get into this industry?
Like I said, cash flow or understanding compound interest and time value of money. I don't know if you're familiar with like the HP 12C calculators.
Okay. Yeah.
this is real old school. We're talking
Right.
back when I got started. The only way we could do a financial calculation or a mortgage calculation was using one of these, and I had to learn how to use one of these for one of my actually one and only real job outside of school. I had to learn how to use this, and nobody at our company knew how to use it. So we were taxed with fixing these things, and they don't break. I mean, really, the only way to break one of these is spill your coffee on it.
Yeah.
Well, the company we worked for was one of our clients was one of the largest mortgage broker slash in title companies in the state, and so I'd go pick these things up from them, and then I'd have to run after we replaced the circuits and stuff, and then I'd have to run some calculation. And I'm like, wait a minute, how come we can't get 2 + 2 = 4? It wouldn't work because it uses a totally different type of math.
Right.
So my company sent me to a class to learn how to use this, and that's where I learned. Once I saw the power of compounding interest, I never even thought about investing. So then I started looking into, how do I build my retirement account? And then from there, it led me into cash flow, and then that led me into real estate. So I don't know. That's just kind of weird how I got there.
Yeah, that kind of makes a lot of sense when you break it down that way.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's one of the things that's lacking in this country is financial literacy, and that's on my hit list is trying to get that solved because they don't teach that stuff. They don't. Nope. It's frustrating.
And that's why that's one of the things that I kind of focus on. I teach a lot of that. I also promote and recommend anybody out there that does teach that type of stuff. Like I really heavily push the Robert Kiyosaki stuff.
Yeah. So you mentioned being the head of the Minnesota REIA, or the Minneapolis REIA. So how'd that come about? That's not something that just falls into everybody's lap. Did you have to work on it, or did it actually fall into your lap?
Well, there again, like I was coming up through the 90s trying to get my training and education, and there was no training in this locally here. Yeah. So I had to go nationally. So I was traveling all over the country, and I'd be at the meetings in these events, and I'd be talking to all the local people, and they're like, "Oh, just go back to your local REIA." I'm like, "Well, what's a REIA?"
Right.
Well, that's your Real Estate Investment Association that gets together every month to talk about real estate in your market. And I'm like, we don't have one of those. So for years, I tried finding, we didn't have one. And then in 2002, after I'd gotten most of my training already, I was been pretty successful investor, had a lot of rental properties, had done a lot of rehabs by then, was doing heavy wholesaling at that time. I would run into these certain other investors that we would just constantly meet each other at properties. Like I'd be going in, they'd be going out, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So we got to know each other over time. Never became friends really, but we got to know who each other were. And one day, things were getting a little bit tougher because the market was changing. So I was at a property, and one of the investors had came through, and we met at this one particular property. We ended up spending like 2 hours talking in this house. It was the first time we spent more than 5 minutes talking to each other.
Right.
And we spent like 2 hours talking to each other in this place. And we realized at that time that both of us thought we were both each other's competition, but we weren't, because we were both looking for something different. But we were both seeing different things in the market. And as we're talking, like 2 or 3 other real estate agents had brought clients through this property. And while this investor and I are standing in this house looking at them. So he's like, well, my office is right down the street. Why don't we just go there? So we went to his office, and then a couple other investors that he was wholesaling a property to, or they were wholesaling him, I can't remember. Anyways, they walked in with a purchase agreement and a check, and then they stuck around and started talking as well. And I knew one of those 2 other guys. And we ended up staying at his office for probably another 3-4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And we're all like, wow, this was great, because we all thought we were each other's competition. We realized we're not, and we're all seeing all these different things. Like, we need to do this on a regular basis. I'm like, okay, next month, same date, same time. That's how it happened.
That's awesome.
Next month, there was the 4 of us. The next month, there was 12 of us. Next month, there was 20. It just kind of grew from there.
Wow. That's an incredible story, because, I mean, man, you never necessarily hear how things like that start, because most cities do have REIA groups. And
most of them started some way like that. Most of the ones that I've talked to where I've met the original people, it was we were just sitting around having coffee, or a couple of us were sitting around having a lunch meeting, and it grew into an association.
Interesting. So this next question, I wonder if it's going to kind of loosely tie into what you just told me. But what is your favorite part of being a real estate investor?
My favorite part of being I think for me, and it depends on how you look at. Most people look at being an investor differently than what it really is. But I think the way most people look at when we say real estate investor is I'm an entrepreneur. Sorry about that. My phone.
Yeah, all good.
I'm an entrepreneur, and real estate allows me the ability to run other businesses, be creative. So like I said, I've done many different things over the years related to real estate. In other words, I build businesses within real estate to support my real estate investing.
That's a smart way to do it. Wow. So throughout your journey so far, I always like this question. This is one of my favorites. Now, we know nothing's ever beautiful and perfect all the time. Right. I'm sure you know that.
Oh, yeah.
So what was the time throughout your real estate investing journey when you felt most unsuccessful?
Oh, that's easy. 2009 to probably 2010. Market had crashed in 2008, and values were tanking here. I had 40 some properties, single family houses, single family doors. So I had 43 buildings. Okay, a couple of them were duplexes, but most of them were all single family 1-unit buildings. I spent the next year and a half turning over tenants, doing short sales on my own properties, liquidating my properties to sell down and pay down debts. Before the market crashed, I listened to the wrong people, and I started pulling out cash out of my properties and putting them in these so-called passive investments that were now wiped out, gone.
Yeah, wow.
So I'm struggling to survive. I felt like a complete and total failure for the next 2 years because I couldn't buy anything. Nobody was buying at that time because values were just. We went from a median price in 2006, where we hit a peak of 2040-ish, and probably by early 2008 we were still around 220. But then by the January 2011, we had dropped down to $110,000 for a median price. So about a 60% decline in value. So for that time frame, nobody was buying, or very few people were buying. Right. So while that was all happening, I actually almost shut down the association. I almost shut down MnREIA. I did shut down my real estate brokerage, my property management company, my trustee servicing company. So I did close all that, shut them down, had to lay off my employees. But I almost shut down the association, but I kept going to the meetings because people kept showing up. And they're telling me all their sob stories, and they're asking for my advice. Finally, one day, I'm like, people, I'm just as bad off as you guys are.
Yeah.
And once I opened up and said that, we became each other's support group. And that's what really got us through it. That's why I'm still, to this day, 10, 15 years later, I'm still running MnREIA, and it's my passion because it helps people. It got me through it, and now I'm here to help other people get through their struggles.
Yeah. It's all about the relationships. If you don't have relationships, it's extremely difficult to really make anything meaningful happen. And I've really thoroughly realized that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So what's the one positive goal you're focused on in your business today?
Positive goal right now is maximizing my cash flow and paying down. Well, I shouldn't say paying down debt. We're looking at things a lot differently right now because of this cheap finance money out there.
Yeah.
When you understand the cash flow, the cheap money that's out there, and I'm re-educating everyone on values too, because people don't understand valuations in real estate, and it's all based on the interest rate. So one of my biggest goals right now for this year is to acquire as many pre-foreclosure properties as I can, where other people took out that 3% interest rate loans that as an investor with an 800 plus credit score can't get. I can get for my investment properties, I can get a 4.5, but I can't get those 3s and under 3% loans. So, but there's a lot of people that did get them that are now going through those foreclosures now that all those moratoriums are over. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal. My focus is finding those deals to get those properties. And I've got one so far. I did find one. Now my goal is to find a few more of those this year.
Now, you mentioned moratoriums. Did you feel the impact of those in your business?
I did, but not as severe as some people I know. Mm-hmm. I only had one tenant that didn't pay at all during the whole time frame, and only had a couple other tenants that struggled from time to time. But then eventually, I worked with them all and got them all caught back up. The one tenant that did not pay through the whole time frame, the state finally kicked in because I worked with them for a year, and that finally got covered. But almost everybody I know that applied, the state wasn't paying. And then like about a month and a half ago, everybody got paid. Okay. So I think the state finally threw their hands up and said, okay, enough of this messing around with all this bull crap red tape that everyone was trying to push through and get. Most people couldn't comply with 90% of what they're asking for anyways, because the tenants they required the tenants to do all the work. And what was the incentive for the tenants?
So did you find any banks or lenders to be easy or difficult to work with during this time? I would think they'd be pretty understanding because everybody's in the same boat. But what did you experience?
Well, with the banks, I didn't have to deal with the banks. Mm-hmm.
Good.
There's nothing to deal with the banks because they're all pretty much under the same guidelines as everyone else.
Yeah.
So there was no issues with the banks right now. Now that they're able to start filing foreclosures again, now we'll see what their real attitude is going to be. But I have a feeling that their attitude is going to be more of let's just do this, because I got a feeling, I can't verify this, but I think in the background the banks have been told just do it and we'll cover you if you lose. Yeah,
you're probably right.
I think the Fed has got that already set up.
I was going to say, everybody seems to well, I don't know about everybody, but the federal government, they seem to always kind of take care of the banks in some way.
Well, because the 5 big banks run the federal government.
Exactly. How coincidental. Wow.
Yeah, by design. Coincidentally, by design.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the favorite technology that you use in your business?
Oh, my phone. I actually have developed an app for making it easy to go look at properties.
Really?
So like when I'm at a property, every house I look at, I got a repair estimator, and then I use that puts in the information. I'm analyzing the properties right off my phone or off my computer. But I call it property analyzer tools. I even created an offer generator wizard that will look at 8 different ways of buying houses and make suggest multiple different offers.
So are you a techie, or did you just get somebody to develop this because you personally needed it?
I'm a techie. I'm not really a techie. What I am is a solution person.
Okay.
So everything, like most of the stuff I got right now, it's all online, and I've become a programmer. So I do a lot of programming because they run the associations. But that came as another accident. Yeah. But in the beginning years when I was building my business, I would build like Excel programs.
Right. So
analyze everything. So years ago, I had everything in Excel programs because I would have the real estate agents. Like when I had my brokerage, I held the license for a lot of investors as well. And the investors would go out and find deals, and if it worked great for them as a buy and hold, they would hold on to them. And if it wasn't a good listing. But then the ones that would fit in my wheelhouse, the agents would bring to me. And I created these spreadsheets. So, okay, you fill in all this information, and if you don't want it and it falls within these criteria, and I literally gave it like these color charts. And if it was a red light, I don't want it. and if it's a green light, you probably want it. And if it's a yellow light, I'll look at it. So I would get like the yellow light ones, the ones that there's something there, but somebody had to go and do some more work, and it was a little bit more creative. It's usually going to be like a subject to type of a deal or a lease option, where most investors beginning investors don't know how to handle them. So I created these programs so as the agents were analyzing the deals, if they fell within a category, bring them to me, and I would look at them. Well, from there, I realized a lot of people like that platform. And so when that word got out there that I had these, and a lot of agents were coming to me during the early 2000s, and that's, again, when I started the association. So it worked out very well. And then after the market crash, I had time to go back and learn programming, because I had about a 2-year period there where I wasn't buying anything. And I shut down my other businesses. So I learned programming so I could build a website to maintain MnREIA, because I had to keep that up and running and keep it more automated. And so that's what I found over the years is what I'm really good at is finding something that either works and then creating some type of a system to make it more efficient and run without me. So awesome. I make everything duplicatable and repeatable, but I use technology to do that.
Right. That's super smart. It's like you kind of have to, or else things will fail without you.
Right.
So are you planning on developing that and marketing it to sell?
I already do.
You already do. Awesome. What's the name of it again?
Well, it's the property analyzer tools, and but we work it through REIAs that are within our network. So like I said, right now we got about 70 different associations. They can go directly through Real Estate Promo, but we don't promote it and push it through there.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time working with the real estate investor associations around the country and with their members. So if it's a tool that I use for my business that is technology based, I incorporate it into the platform, and then it automatically becomes available to all the members of all the REIAs that are using
that's good.
Our platform.
That's awesome.
So we've got, like I said, about 70 different associations around the country. And actually, I was just looking that number up a little bit ago, which represents about 23,000 active members around the country right now.
Wow. That's huge. That's good.
That have access to this stuff.
Wow. That's impressive. Awesome.
And if they don't have access directly through one of the associations, they can reach out through Real Estate Promo.
Yeah.
And find us that way and get it there.
So you guys have the network to be a part of. What cities is this network covering?
Almost every major city in the country.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Wow.
Yeah.
Mike, you're the guy to know, man.
Well, just because I got out there and I traveled and I made these connections over the years, and those connections, like we said, the connections, and because of those connections, the people I know, people would come back to me, hey, Mike, what do you got available for us? This is what we got. And it just, in fact, this all became because one of the national speakers spoke to our group in 2011. And like, what are you doing different than everyone else? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she's like, I'm getting back out on the road speaking to groups around the country after most of them closed their doors, went out of business. She says, I'm going and speaking around the country. The most people I've spoken to is like maybe 30. And here I show up to Minneapolis and you have 150 people.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? She's like, what are you doing different? I'm like, I have no clue. She's like, well, how large is your staff? I'm like, it's me. That's not possible.
Wow.
And she stuck around for another day to figure it out. And she came to my office and she saw the software that I was running, or not software, but the web-based applications. Like, well, this is why, because you automated everything. And I'm like, well, I never thought about it that way. But yeah, you're right. I did automate all those different tasks so that one person or a very small group of people can do it.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. So what's your portfolio look like these days?
I have about a dozen properties with high cash flow. So
nice.
Cream of the crop. I learned when I had 40 some properties that had smaller cash flows, I was making probably about as much money as I am now, cash flow wise. And I had way more work.
Yeah.
So now the ones that I got, and that's why I was saying earlier, because of the cash flow, I want to increase my spreads. I want to have fewer properties with higher spreads. And that's the way I'm doing it, is by finding these lower rate loans that I can't even get with an 800 score.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get those types of loans that a first time home buyer who had a 680 credit score could get a 2.9% loan, that now that they can't make their payment and they're going to lose it to foreclosure, I can come in, give them a few $1,000s, for their equity, and then save their credit. And now I can take over that really, really low interest rate loan. With these higher rents going up right now, they're cash flowing like crazy.
That's excellent.
That, and then I do a few rehabs still. I shouldn't say that. I was doing rehabs up till COVID hit, and then I did one more last year, and I don't think I'm going to do any more actual rehabs because I couldn't even find workers to do the work. I mean, I went back to the last one I did. I ended up doing 80% of the work myself.
Oh, wow.
To get the project done. Well, because everyone else is sitting at home getting their money. I got a call yesterday from a guy. He even worked with me on one of the projects, and then he started getting his spare money, and I hadn't heard from him yet. And then he called yesterday. He's like, "Hey, you got any work?" I'm like, "Not right now." He says, "Well, I got transportation now." He says, "I'll go anywhere."
Wow.
I'm like, "Okay, well, I haven't heard from you in 5 months now.
Right.
And now you're looking for work again."
Yeah. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, to work with you or shoot some deals your way, how do they do that? Probably easiest way to find me is right through the website, MnREIA, Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association, or Real Estate Promo. They can also find me on Facebook, kind of active on that. I don't respond immediately to messages because sometimes, I don't log in for a day or two, but I do follow up on most of the messages through Facebook. Just look for Mike Jacka. That's the easiest way to find me. Okay. So since entering into the real estate investing world, what are you most grateful for?
The people I've met and the connections I've made over the years. My life is way more enriched just personally, just because of the type of quality of people that I now hang around with and are friends with from all over the country.
So that's one thing you just mentioned, as far as meeting other people and networking and things like that. Let me ask you this question. So since this pandemic thing has happened, there's been a massive spike in, calls like this, video calls and things like that. How do you feel from that time when it kind of seemed like we were forced to do video calls versus getting back to being in person to talk to people? How does that make you feel since you've gotten back to it?
Well, I will say I am one of the detractors. I fought this whole thing the whole time. I personally believe that the technology and doing these videos is awesome for doing these interviews and for doing some training, but it does not. And I got many even personal relationships that I feel like have withered away, even though we've met online. Mm-hmm. When you don't have that personal connection, those bonds are not as strong.
No,
those connections are not as strong. We even try to take some of the networking that we were doing live. We brought that online, and we even it's still going on right now. Every other week we do a virtual networking type of a thing. And it works for a small group of people that they're more comfortable with that online version, but we had to get back to live. And I even wrote an article on this probably a year ago now, on how we had to get back to a live environment because we're entrepreneurs. We're in a people business. Unless you want to be a tech guy who sits behind a computer, and that's fine with you. But we are in the people business, and deals are done by relationships. And I don't feel like Antonio, you and I just met today on this here. We've talked a couple of times via email and phone, but we don't know each other.
Right.
It's a good introduction way to start.
Yeah.
But until we actually become friends and we can meet at a live event and sit back and, just have a fluid conversation without trying to think structured how our conversation is structured.
Right, true.
Like in an environment like this.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is I watch a lot of podcasts and a lot of interviews, and you could tell the structured environment that everyone's trying to portray is still so much different than if you and I were just sitting around having a coffee. True.
And see, the thing is like we have an audience here that is consuming this, so there's a little bit of, well, stay in line with the conversation, don't go too far left field and say something out of line, quote unquote.
Right.
But you're absolutely correct, man. That's the same thing.
Those ideas that get sparked when we don't have to be so structured.
Exactly.
I lost that.
Yeah.
And now we're getting it back because like we'll go to I call it the meeting after the meeting.
Yeah.
So we have our main monthly meetings or anytime we have these smaller group meetings. Anytime, if it's not too late, a lot of times we'll go and have dinner or a drink at the local bar, and a half a dozen of us will sit and talk about things. And the ideas started flowing, and then we're bouncing ideas off of each other because nobody cares at that point. And that's when those $1 million ideas pop up.
Exactly. And see, that's the same thing I've been working on. Secret. I'm letting little secrets out. But the whole casual networking thing as adult human beings needs to happen because just like you said, that's when the real sparks tend to come out is in situations like that. When we're relaxed, the structure is not there. And it's much more powerful. People feel relaxed and that they have a chance to be more human,
Exactly.
So, yeah. So before I hit you with the last question here, just want to say thanks for coming on the show. Great conversation with you. Nothing but value bombs dropping left and right. So that's awesome. Thank you very much for that. And finally, last question here. What is your definition of real estate investing success?
Success. That is, for me, it's actually changed a lot over the years. I used to think, I had to make $1 million. And when I made $1 million, I did not, by my definition at that time, I was successful. But I don't make $1 million a year right now. I make maybe half of that. And I feel 10 times more successful now because I've got all my needs met. I mean, I don't have any bills that I have no bills, right? I basically all my needs and everything is met from the cash flow from my real estate. And I also multiple streams of income. So it's the real estate and a couple other things that I do that I live off of. And then that allows me to do this other stuff that I'm doing, like here talking with you and running the association and all that. And I'm building another business that I'm not making any money off of right now, but it's a passion of mine to do it, to help other people. And eventually it'll have some value to it, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I have the ability to do it now. So for me, the success is about having all my cash flow needs met and I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. I live a very modest, meager one. But I've got a lot of free and clear properties right now that are kicking out tremendous cash flow. So to me, that's success, is being able to get to the point where you do not have to work because your previous work is covering your needs.
Successors, I hope you've enjoyed my quick conversation today, and I hope you've gained just a little more insight into achieving your financial freedom and reaching your goals. Please do us a huge favor and visit our sponsor, Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association, at MnREIA.com. That's MnREIA.com. Join the community today to receive special members-only perks, services, discounts, and much more. Minnesota Real Estate Investors Association is the place for vital real estate investing training, networking, and resources. That's MnREIA.com. For more real estate investing content like this and a lot more, please visit UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com. That's UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay grateful, stay successful, and be free. Music by Stream Beats.
Universe Media Mastering. Your audio more listenable.